This is a public service announcement. The following presentation contains controversial information and ideas that could change the way you view the world. What you see and hear may soon compel you to take action. Viewer discretion is advised.
And it was in 2004, I voted in favor of medical marijuana. But I thought it was going to go through normal medicinal procedure. I'd see a real doctor, a real pharmacist would give me the marijuana, and I'd take care of whatever my issues were with my family. But that's not the case. And that's not how it's done.
Hypocrite. 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 Hypocrite.
I-176 states it would repeal the Montana Marijuana Act. The initiative would eliminate the current differences found between federal law and state law with respect to the legal status of the possession and use of marijuana.
So we believe the delivery process right now in the state of Montana is terrible. There's no testing, there's no measuring, there's no prescription, there's no prescribing, there's no monitoring, and then there's no registering. We just want normal pain medication protocol, and that's not being done in this state.
The United States is in the midst of the worst drug addiction epidemic in its history. But it's not a crisis of illegal drugs. It's one of prescription painkillers. Oxycodone, hydrocodone, and other legal narcotics, all related to opium. Collectively, they're called opioids.
Well, these are the opioid painkillers, and prescriptions for drugs like these have more than quadrupled over the last 15 years, to the extent that the US now consumes more than 80% of the global supply of these drugs.
Overdoses from prescription opioid drugs now kill nearly 17,000 Americans every year. That's one overdose death.
This rate, which might have been 1 or 2 a month in our emergency department, is now more like 3 or 4 or 5, if not more than that, in a 24-hour period.
I mean, that's a massive increase.
Massive increase.
Over the past 10 years, we've had more than 125,000 Americans lose their lives to painkiller overdose deaths.
This is a public service announcement. The following presentation contains controversial information and ideas that could change the way you view the world. What you see and hear may soon compel you to take action. Viewer discretion is advised.
But politicians and media are making CBD oil out to be the kind of good kind of cannabis, while arguing that THC is the bad kind of cannabis. Now listen, while that's not how any of this works, that is the case that is subtly being made.
The year was 1776, and the famous document you see pictured here, which was signed by a small group of 56 courageous souls you see in this image here, forever changed the course of human history. And yet, the corruption and government control these men gave their lives to avoid has once again reared its ugly head today. Only this time, it is more than your life and livelihood that is at risk. Planet Earth and our global ecosystem hangs in the balance as well. Now, what you may not realize is that several of these men made their living as farmers. They grew the towering plant you see photographed here. Back then, this plant was used for everything from clothing to rope to paper, medicines, and food. And back then, it played a vital role in the life of the community. For centuries, many relied on this plant for both their health and their income.
Number one, in order to push the market away from the small sellers and the harvesters of CBD oil, states, along with the feds, will likely create a regulatory climate that is so difficult to manage that they will, through cronyism, force CBD oil into the hands of a few, which in turn limits supply and then forces the price of the oil to rise considerably. Number two, big pharmaceutical companies will likely begin putting out a safe and legitimate form of CBD oil. And that is already starting to happen.
GW Pharmaceuticals out of Great Britain has been producing Sativex, which is a 50-50 blend of CBD and THC. They have no real research behind whether or not 50-50 is even the right ratio, and they certainly don't include the other terpenes or other chemical compounds from the cannabis plant. So we could see the bone get tossed to the pharmaceutical dog. It's certainly a possibility. But I think if more people take a stand for really descheduling marijuana, regulating it in a manner similar to alcohol to allow adults who are already out there, supply and demand economics, wanting this plant and providing a safe way to be able to provide it is really the best model to move forward with.
Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers, wrote that this plant is of first necessity to the wealth and protection of the country. And George Washington simply said this about the plant: sow it everywhere. How is it then that up until now, powerful forces have been able to take this plant from you and block you from enjoying its remarkable health and prosperity benefits? When you realize right now that today this remarkable plant holds the key to your future and to the future of our planet, well, how can you not feel outraged by what has been done? You will hear more about this in just a moment, so be sure and watch this short presentation to the end. And there's more, because the story surrounding this plant would have the founding fathers turning over in their graves, and it must be told. So pay close attention to find out. A word of caution up front. There is a good chance you will feel angry as you watch and listen to what follows. You may think that you have heard it all or seen it all, and then you discover the truth, and you want to take action. Realize it is perfectly normal to feel angry and upset about having been lied to and deceived, and you probably will want to take action. That is to be expected. Simply know that you are not to blame. What has happened to this plant is practically criminal. It is an outrage that your life and the lives of all humans have suffered. The good news, all this is about to change, thanks to what you will soon discover. One more thing. If you are the type of person who doesn't care about what's happening to the planet, and if you don't really care much about the legacy you want to leave your children, your grandchildren, and future generations, then you should leave this page right now. And if by chance you are happy with your life just the way it is, if making more of a difference in your family, your community, and in the world is not on your list of priorities, well, that's probably not the kind of person you are. However, if it is, then you will be wasting your time if you stick around.
So what you need to know is where the U.S. government actually stands on this issue. Cannabis, marijuana. Today, it is still a Schedule I drug. That means, according to our government, it has no medicinal use whatsoever and has a high potential for abuse. Now, does our government really believe that? No. In 1999, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, filed for this patent for the use of cannabinoids for medicinal purposes. Also in 1999, they filed for a second patent, specifically for cannabis oil for the treatment of disease. That's right. Our government, through the taxpayer-funded Department of Health and Human Services, holds 2 patents on cannabinoids and cannabis oil to treat certain diseases like Alzheimer's and autoimmune diseases like Crohn's disease. Meanwhile, our government, through taxpayer-funded agencies like the Department of Justice, pursue, arrest, and imprison Americans who would attempt to access or use cannabis oil to heal their own bodies. Because in public, they claim cannabis oil is not medicine. And in private, they seek to own the rights to that medicine. Truth means that humanity is greater than politics.
This great tale holds the key to your future, and to our collective future as well. Warning. Some of what you have just seen and heard in the previous video probably made you feel angry or upset, even a bit outraged. Realize that you are not alone. Many others just like you felt the same way after learning what took place back in 1937 and then forward ever since. And while some are unsure about calling this American betrayal an actual conspiracy, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, well, you get the idea. And then there is this, a simple-looking miracle of nature that holds the key to birthing a brighter future for the planet, for your community, and for you and your family too. Now, unless you are the type of person who dwells in the past, you simply have to watch this video to the end, because you also know now that we're at the start of a new era. There is an unprecedented opportunity you are about to discover to take back your life, your freedom, your future, and to help save our planet from environmental collapse. It's a movement and a mission that begins and ends with what has been called the Genesis Plant. Fortunately for you and for all of us, there is a surprising twist in the middle of the story. We'll get to that in just a moment. So right now, turn off your phone. Close the door of the room you are in. Decide now to listen and watch, because planet Earth is in grave danger. According to a 2012 study published in the journal Nature, researchers say our global ecosystem could collapse in just a few generations from now, and that once we reach that point of no return, well, you don't want to go there. None of us do. Let us just say it's time to take action now and make sure our world doesn't ever reach that point at any time in the future. Enter the Genesis plant, or what is more commonly known as hemp. Legend has it that hemp was grown in southern Mesopotamia, considered by some to be the site of the Garden of Eden. Now, whether this plant was there at the genesis of life, or is simply one of nature's most amazing species of plant, one thing is abundantly clear. For over 10,000 years, hemp has played a vitally important role in both ancient and modern cultures all over the globe. Today, hemp is key to our planet's future, and it holds the key to your future as well. Consider the following. Virtually anything made from petroleum, wood, or cotton can be made from hemp. For example, hemp pulp used to make paper does not need to be bleached with chlorine chemicals. It is as durable as wood pulp and hardly deteriorates, even after hundreds of years. And when you learn that hemp could reduce deforestation by as much as 50%, it's clear that you want to take action now. Unlike cotton, hemp requires virtually zero pesticides, fungicides, or insecticides. The numbers are staggering, with estimates that cotton farming uses more than 25% of the world's insecticides and more than 10% of the world's pesticides, contaminating groundwater and rivers and poisoning the earth. Simply by replacing cotton with hemp, we can eliminate a significant source of the world's chemical and water pollution. Plus, hemp helps detoxify and enrich the soil, restoring nutrients and nitrogen back into the earth. It is nature's gift to you and to all of humankind. And there's more. Back in 1941, Henry Ford showcased a car built from hemp plastic whose impact strength was 10 times stronger than steel. It was a car designed to run on biodiesel fuel produced from crops like hemp. This was Ford's vision for the automobile industry all along. It was and is a revolution waiting to happen. Estimates are that farming just 6% of the continental U.S. with biomass crops like hemp would provide all of America's energy needs, freeing America from a dependency on foreign oil. Remember, hemp is carbon negative, perhaps one of its most important characteristics. Let all this sink in for a moment and imagine a pollution-free world, one that you and others will help create. Just listen. You can almost hear the earth breathe a sigh of relief as you take action now, and as hemp is restored to its natural place in the global ecosystem. Henry Ford said it best. Why use the forests, which were centuries in making, and the mines, which required ages to lay down, if we can get the equivalent of forest and mineral products in the annual growth of the fields? Now get this. Hemp is more than a potential savior to the planet. It is a blessing to your body as well. The wide spectrum of nutrients found in hemp seeds helps keep your body young, healthy, and functioning at its best. One of the most amazing compounds found in hemp is cannabidiol, or what is simply known as CBD. CBD is one of over 65 cannabinoid compounds found in hemp, and may be one of the most important discoveries of the last 50 years. We'll talk more about CBD in just a moment, so keep watching. First, the amazing twist to our story. You see, even though hemp was essentially banned as a domestic crop in 1937, today, hemp products imported through the proper means are exempt from the marijuana and THC restrictions of the Controlled Substance Act. Simply speaking, products made from hemp and products infused with CBD-rich hemp oil are available for use in all 50 states. The irony is that the corrupt politicians who set cannabis prohibition in motion were at least smart enough to realize that hemp was very useful. Perhaps most amazing, your body comes with a built-in endocannabinoid system. Cannabinoid receptors are found in the brain, in the immune cells, and throughout the body. Research has shown this system regulates a wide variety of biological processes and helps make sure your entire body is working at its best. It's as if Mother Nature herself had something up her sleeve.
Join us into a brighter future of legalizing marijuana in the state of Montana. Prohibition didn't work, and it still doesn't. Sign your signature and vote yes on Initiative 178. Sign your signature and vote yes on our Constitutional Initiative 115. And remember, just say no to Initiative 176. Be a voice and not an echo. Sign your signature and vote. Be heard.
What you see and hear may soon compel you to take action. Viewer discretion is advised.
But politicians and media are making CBD oil out to be the kind of good kind of cannabis, while arguing that THC is the bad kind of cannabis. Now listen, while that's not how any of this works, that is the case that is subtly being made.
The year was 1776, and the famous document you see pictured here, which was signed by a small group of 56 courageous souls you see in this image here, forever changed the course of human history. And yet, the corruption and government control these men gave their lives to avoid has once again reared its ugly head today. Only this time, it is more than your life and livelihood that is at risk. Planet Earth and our global ecosystem hangs in the balance as well. Now, what you may not realize is that several of these men made their living as farmers. They grew the towering plant you see photographed here. Back then, this plant was used for everything from clothing to rope to paper, medicines, and food. And back then, it played a vital role in the life of the community. For centuries, many relied on this plant for both their health and their income.
Number one, in order to push the market away from the small sellers and the harvesters of CBD oil, states, along with the feds, will likely create a regulatory climate that is so difficult to manage that they will, through cronyism, force CBD oil into the hands of a few, which in turn limits supply and then forces the price of the oil to rise considerably. Number two, big pharmaceutical companies will likely begin putting out a safe and legitimate form of CBD oil. And that is already starting to happen.
GW Pharmaceuticals out of Great Britain has been producing Sativex, which is a 50-50 blend of CBD and THC. They have no real research behind whether or not 50-50 is even the right ratio, and they certainly don't include the other terpenes or other chemical compounds from the cannabis plant. So we could see the bone get tossed to the pharmaceutical dog. It's certainly a possibility. But I think if more people take a stand for really descheduling marijuana, regulating it in a manner similar to alcohol to allow adults who are already out there supply and demand economics, wanting this plant and providing a safe way to be able to provide it, is really the best model to move forward with.
Thomas Jefferson, one of America's founding fathers, wrote that this plant is the first necessity to the wealth and protection of the country. And George Washington simply said this about the plant: sow it everywhere. How is it then that up until now, powerful forces have been able to take this plant from you and block you from enjoying its remarkable health and prosperity benefits? When you realize right now that today, this remarkable plant holds the key to your future and to the future of our planet, well, how can you not feel outraged by what has been done? You will hear more about this in just a moment, so be sure and watch this short presentation to the end. And there's more, because the story surrounding this plant would have the founding fathers turning over in their graves, and it must be told. So pay close attention to find out. A word of caution up front. There is a good chance you will feel angry as you watch and listen to what follows. You may think that you have heard it all, or seen it all, and then you discover the truth, and you want to take action. Realize it is perfectly normal to feel angry and upset about having been lied to and deceived, and you probably will want to take action. That is to be expected. Simply know that you are not to blame. What has happened to this plant is practically criminal. It is an outrage that your life and the lives of all humans have suffered. The good news, all this is about to change.